I can truthfully say alcohol put me where I'm at today.
I came here because of drinking, because I was in a drunk driving accident.
That's why I'm in prison today, because of my drinking, alcohol, DWIs.
He ended up getting in an argument with my dad, and I ended up murdering him that day.
The fact is, I wouldn't have been there if I hadn't been drinking, and I wouldn't have crashed if I hadn't been drinking. I don't remember the instance exactly, but I do remember everything else with clarity. And my daughter said, "What happened?" I said, "We had an accident. Are you okay?" She said, "Yeah, I'm okay." And I went to look to see if Emily was okay. I said, Are you okay?" And she wasn't. She had come between my daughter and me and smashed her head on the dashboard, and she was killed instantly. And life changed on a dime. It was morning, we were going out to the beach, and I had a vodka and orange juice in a glass, and I poured it into a plastic tumbler walking out the door, and my girlfriend, who was about 10 years ahead of me in recovery, said to me, "You taking your orange juice to the beach?" And I said, "Yeah." And she started to laugh. She said, "You're a piece of work." And I said, "Well, what do you think? You think it's time I went to one of those meetings?" And she said, "Oh, baby, it was time years ago." And that was July. And I crashed in September. And I guess one of the things that I know today about AA is it's attraction, not promotion. Nobody was dragging me to a meeting. Do I wish I went in July? Probably, but I don't know if I would have stayed.
I turned to a life of crime because of alcohol. I'm gonna just say insufficient funds caused me to want to go out and rob people because I couldn't get a drink, or I wasn't trustworthy enough for people to loan me money to get alcohol. But I turned to a life of crime, started robbing people, hurting people, and I felt it was okay.
The first time I drank was like 12 years old. I ran down the street, came back, and I went to grab my drink and chug it, and it was horrible, but then it hit me like bam, and I don't know, I wanted to get drunk ever since. It was bad. Like, I was the youngest person who was like, detox was my home away from home.
I didn't know it at the time, but I was an alcoholic drinker right from the start. I drank alcoholically. There would be three guys hanging out, and there was 4 beers left, and I knew I had to finish this one, drink one more down, and then we could split the remaining 3, because there was 3 of us, 4 beers, I was gonna get 2 of them, and that's the way an alcoholic thinks, and I didn't realize it at the time. So it caused problems in my life. I was kicked out of school at the age of 16, and also at the age of 16, I ended up in the county jail for the first time, on an alcohol-related offense. Just about all of my arrests, I have an extensive arrest record. Every time I was under the influence, that I can think of.
My obsession with alcohol, it makes me feel a different person, the person I don't want to be, my skin, just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's an obsession that makes me be another person that I don't like either. Mi alcoholismo empeoró al punto de que perdí mi hogar y perdí mi apartamento y tuve que vivir abajo de un puente y pues desde ahí he estado viniendo y saliendo de la cárcel.
And I would always go in my father's pants pocket at night and give me some change. I would get somebody in the neighborhood that I knew that was a little older, well, much older than me. They would go to the liquor store. My drinking progressed when I got to be 15, and behind it, all that drinking, I was doing some of the same things my father was doing. I was fighting with women, we screaming and shouting, cursing each other out, and fighting, me and my brother fighting, we getting drunk in my mother's backyard fighting, barbecues, we fighting each other. And eventually some of my family members had told me, "You need some help. You can't remember you getting drunk, throwing bricks through people's windows. You don't remember what you done did the next day." But my drinking didn't stop there. I switched over at the age of 21, I switched over. I went to whiskey and left the wine alone. I said, well, maybe if I switched my drinking. And my drinking just progressed. I started drinking just anything you drink, I drink.
I realized that I needed a solution, but I didn't have one. You know, I didn't have one at all, and I felt lost.
The speaker happened to be another inmate, and he started talking, and as soon as he started talking, all of a sudden, this guy was just talking about me. I knew that for the first time there was something in that meeting.
And I just said, I didn't know what was going to happen or if I was going to be able to do it or whatever, but I knew I needed a change, and I said, I'm going to just give it a shot, you know, and I ended up with a 9-year prison sentence. And I went up to the prison and I contacted AA. I wrote to them and I said, I know I'm alcoholic, I need help, you know, and they had somebody write to me. The guy sent me literature and I started reading, you know, and I opened the big book, and it had some profound things in there that really related to me.
But I had never, until this last time being incarcerated and going and following some suggestions and getting a sponsor and going through all the steps, I had never done a thorough 4th step before. And even with that, it led to just a continuation of finishing them all, which was like, wow, what a load off. And it just really took away a lot of crap that I would dig up and have self-pity about and pointing the fingers at everyone else, and never really took responsibility or was accountable for the things that I had done to myself to cause this sickness.
Step 4 and 5 played a big role in my recovery, because I'm starting to understand and realize that step 4 and 5 helps me to get over some resentments that I had, right? And I'm starting to learn through the program, through AA and through Alcoholics Anonymous, that resentment destroys people. And how they destroy people is from the inside out. And what I mean by that was, when I was going through my stage of alcohol abuse, I built up some resentment because I was so self-centered, so egotistical, that I blamed a lot of people for my mistakes. And I'm starting to realize that I have to be responsible and take accountability for my own life. And so when you go through step 4 and 5, this makes you take a deeper look, examination inside of yourself, where you have to really question yourself. And not only question yourself, but you got to come up with some answers about a lot of things, a lot of deep, dark secrets that I've been holding inside of me.
My favorite step at this point is the 12th step, because now I get to go and help someone else. And in helping them, I'm helping myself.
I say the Serenity Prayer in the morning. I say it at the end of the day. I read my reflections book in the morning. And I said, that gives me a way to just start the day. And then I take it from there. I don't know how tomorrow will be, but I do that every day. And he said, wow. He goes, and he asked me, and I showed him the reflections book. And the other day he told me he got it. So you can never know. It's all about suggestions. I'm finding that works for me as well. I'm never going to tell anyone what to do.
What I like about the big book is that if you read it and you're a real alcoholic, you can't deny that what's in that book is true. You can't. I mean, I can't, and I'll be truthful with myself. You know, and rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path.
I like the daily reflection and the grapevine. I really associate with the stories in there that lets me know I'm not alone, because I was an alcoholic. I always drank alone, and that's why a lot of my anger and rage that I've had bottled up was always against those I usually loved, because they were always close to me. So whenever I read these stories of other people who were alone, it helps me realize that I wasn't alone. And even with my spiritual life growing and with God on my side, now I realize that I'm never alone. And to see that the stories and these people that have the same spiritual awakening that I do shows me that God's really working, not just in my life, but other people as well.
That Monday night, this still amazes me. A man in AA invited me into his home 3 days after I'd been in prison for 21 years to have dinner with him and his family and 2 other guys from the AA program. This guy had a brand new baby, 6 months old, and I'm sitting here in the back of my mind thinking, why would anyone invite somebody like me into their home that they don't know and offer them dinner? And I realized that the AA program was showing me what real friends were.
The correction correspondent program, even though I'm eligible for meetings on occasions here, some people might not be able to in some of these institutions. And I'm only having a meeting, say, once a week. Well, even though I might have a handle on working the program to a certain degree now, and I definitely got some sobriety under my belt, once a week, you know, if you're really serious about your program, you're going to want to maintain it. You know? So with my AA program, I want as much fellowship as possible, whether it be me absorbing information and getting some pat on the back for doing something I'm supposed to be doing, or for me to share with somebody to maybe kick them in the butt and get them in the group somewhere in their neighborhood they need to be going to. But it's fellowship, because that's how I look at it. Like I said, you got to give it away to keep it. So that's how you're doing it. Every time I help somebody, it just refreshes in my mind the things. As long as I utilize what I tell them. I mean, I can't be telling you something and not doing it myself. That just don't make any sense, but that happens a lot of times.
My favorite passage is this. I think it's in Promise. It say, no matter how far down the scale we're going, we will see how our experience can benefit others. I like sharing. And that's what that does. That's telling me about sharing. And it's telling me also about, I can relate to it because in my alcoholic state, man, I done did some things that I never would have did if I was in my right state of mind. And I know other alcoholics, when I hear their story, they basically say the same thing. You done heard of people selling themselves, stealing, robbing, and killing. In that state, in an alcoholic, it reminds me of me, because I have went really far down the scale. But it brings me back up, because it says no matter how far down the scale you're going, you will see how your experience can benefit others. And that's why I like AA, because I get to share my story and hoping that my story helps another person. And I also start understanding too, there'll be some guys that come into AA and they won't say a word at first. But then guys start to realize that everybody in life going through the same thing. We all going through the same problem. We are scared to speak on it. So when I share my story, I see how it benefits others. I done been to meetings where a guy sat in there a year, 6 months and didn't say a word. Then one day they just start talking and they won't even shut up.
I got to say this here. My daughter is 24 years old. She called me Tony for 20 years. Today, my daughter called me Dad. She writes me every week and says, "Dear Dad, I love you. Dad, I'm glad I can count on you." And as I said, my ex-wife, my best friend today, all because of this program.
AA has changed my life completely. Everything has changed. It's not just, there's more to it than me not drinking anymore. Just the peace that has come with the change of lifestyle is, I'm certain it's going to get better.